Ladies and gentlemen, this is BottomlineBurke.
Respect.
The expensive truth with BottomlineBurke. The expensive truth with BottomlineBurke.
Welcome back to another episode of The Expensive Truth with BottomlineBurke. Tune in next time on The Expensive Truth with BottomlineBurke.
And that's the bottom line. But after this, we're getting straight to the bottom line.
Welcome back to another episode of The Expensive Truth with BottomlineBurke. I'm thoroughly excited to bring to you the subject matter we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about relationships, motherhood, womanhood, marriage, and we're going to explore all of those dynamics with this beautiful, hardworking, disciplined woman that I was honored to meet on a Saturday morning at the 1 Mile Crusher on the Beltline. She is the epitome of somebody. It's not what she says, what she does. She always is a principled woman, is always a disciplined woman, and she always has nothing but wisdom to share. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, help me please applaud the one and only Soki.
Thank you.
Soki,
Thank
pleasure.
you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for coming tonight.
You.
I'm excited to dive into the subject matters I just highlighted.
Mm-hmm.
First off, how are you doing today? How was your day?
Good. Always eventful. I always try to, make the best of each day. Mm-hmm. I work a lot. I have a daughter at home,
right,
but I'm still raising. So, balancing career and, being a parent, throughout every day of the week, it's never a break for me. So
yeah, and that's what I wanted to discuss, right? Mm-hmm. I find you very intriguing, just as far as how you set your life up and some of the conversations mm-hmm. you had prior. Can you talk a little bit about how was Soki prior to having kids?
So prior to having kids, I did start at a young age, mm-hmm. straight out of college.
What age, if you don't mind?
I was 23 at the time.
That's young?
Yeah.
Okay. All my aunties, I got 10 aunties. They all had kids by 17, so
yeah,
that's why I responded like that. But go ahead.
Well, I was lucky enough to I found out that I was pregnant a month before I was going to walk.
Okay.
So, very fortunate to, be able to walk, graduate, mm-hmm. instead of having a child while I was in college. Mm-hmm. And that could be a challenge for a lot of people, mm-hmm. Having to be a parent plus,
juggle academics and schedule.
Yes, so that's a lot for a young kid. Mm-hmm. So I was very fortunate and blessed to mm-hmm. be able to get that degree, mm-hmm. Have a family, and then build my career as well. So with all that, crammed into like a 23-year-old, right. It's a lot. There's a lot of challenges, adversity, mm-hmm. Because as a young adult, you don't financially, right. You're just making it out there and you have a kid, mm-hmm. So there's a lot of struggles.
Right.
And prior to that, I was a young college student, mm-hmm. enjoying, being a kid and living, because I grew up in an Asian household. Okay. So it was very structured, very strict.
Right.
So I couldn't really do a lot of things socially. Mm-hmm. But when I was able to leave the house, yeah. and get to Auburn, I just really, let loose.
Right.
And was, no parents, no curfew. Mm-hmm. So I was just, being that regular college student. Mm-hmm. And of course I still knew what was important, what I had to do with my education.
Right.
But other than that, just being like an average college kid.
But the average college kid
mm-hmm.
doesn't get pregnant prior to walking. You said you come from, a very strict Asian background. Curious to know, the moment you knew that you was going to be pregnant, who was the first person you shared that information with?
I think I hid that pregnancy until I was like 5 or 6 months from my parents because, there's a lot of
Pressure.
pressure. There's, of course, I wasn't married. So a lot of shame, So I had to overcome that and not only that, but I did marry outside my race.
Right.
So there's a lot of challenges, a lot of things that I had to, be strong and have the courage to explain to my parents, So it was very challenging for me.
I want to move on, but I am interested to know, what was that conversation like ultimately when you had that discussion with your parents and you confessed it, that you revealed you was pregnant?
So their culture, our culture is very different. My family's from Cambodia.
Okay.
I was the first generation here. Parents were immigrants, and they were not happy because they had, they came from a war country. They escaped to Thailand, and then came here to the States, all the struggles that they had to overcome, all that, they wanted more for us. And I think the timing wasn't right. That they, was explained to me, and I said, I get it, but God has a plan, and we have to, accept what's coming, forth. And, over time they accepted, what
happened.
Yeah, what happened. And they were supportive. So it just took time, and, they were never accustomed to, everything was done the traditional way.
Right.
You get married, you have kids. Career, kids, and then get married, have kids. So.
I mean, it's never the right time. Right?
No.
Let's just be honest, right?
Yeah.
But children are truly a blessing. Right? And once you have the kids, can you detail to the audience what are some unexpected yet beautiful challenges, as well as changes that you had to make as a woman now that you are a mother?
I had to sacrifice a lot of my time. I had to sacrifice, knowing that I had to be the person that they depend on. Right. I could never give up. Like the moment that, I feel something's getting hard or tough for me, I can't give up because I have my children that depends on me. So having that, mentality has always stuck with me, even throughout, any events in my life that, that I've came across. It's not to ever give up. And I've learned that through having my kids and raising them. I sacrificed any hardships that I've had. Being a parent, I was very selfless. No matter if it hurt me, but it made them happy, I had to make sure that, they didn't see that part of me.
Correct. Well, one of the things I know from your well-built body and our conversations is you spend time in the gym, right? And that makes you happy.
Yes, it does. It truly does.
I can relate in a lot of different levels because I know they literally call those happy hormones once you work out, and that's what kind of consumes you after the workout. What was the moment you decided, because you said you have limited time.
Yes.
But you knew that creating the time to work out, people call it self-care, self-love.
Yes.
But I know that the gym is very important to you. What was the decision that you decided to have that as your discipline and that was something that you was gonna, dedicate each and every day to.
So it was my outlet, right?
Okay.
And when I do work out, I feel great. I relieve a lot of stress. It makes me feel good,
Yeah.
and then at the end, it makes me healthier and look good. So I have to take time for myself. I learned to do that as I gotten older, and as my kids, they're great kids. I mean,
Yeah.
like I look at them. I'm
And
very
you got
blessed.
a boy and a girl, correct?
2 girls, 1 boy.
2 girls, 1 boy. Okay.
And so I always tell them, like, look, mommy's got to take at least an hour, to go to the gym, to relieve some stress. Because, being a single parent, all you have is, yourself.
Right.
I do have a supportive family, that supports me and love me and,
Absolutely.
are there for me. But majority of the time, it's all on me, So I explain to them and say, look, I need an hour.
Right.
You guys are driving me crazy.
Right.
I got to go work out.
Right.
So, and I love to work out. I've always, I ran track in high school. I just love how it makes you feel.
Right.
I
think that's important to identify and also make sure you create time for
Yes.
things that will refuel you.
Yes.
And especially as life will life. And as you just mentioned, you're a single mother. I would only imagine once you met your husband or your ex-husband, because I know you're in the middle of divorce, that wasn't how you thought it would end.
No.
And the harsh reality is most relationships don't end well, right?
Yes.
Specifically concerning, like, now that you're in that process of getting a divorce, what did you think prior to getting married? What did you think marriage consisted of?
I always envisioned marriage to be for a lifetime.
Right.
I grew up in a Baptist church. I saw the traditional, marriages and people fight for each other.
Right.
A lot of people always relate to what they imagine a marriage to be like is your grandparents, honestly.
Right.
I mean, sometimes it's not sometimes
Right.
it's your parents.
Yeah, that's real too. And even,
But I think grandparents are the most, they're the one that really signifies what a marriage really looks
Correct.
like, because it's that old love and they love each other. They're already old, so
Right.
they've been together for like 50, 65 years or whatever.
For decades.
It lasts for a lifetime. That was my vision of what marriage should be like.
Right. But some things change, some things remain the same, right?
Yes.
And I'm glad you brought that up because there are countless and endless men and women who, just like you, try to mimic that.
Yes.
Right? My mama was together for decades. My grandmother, she was there for half a century.
Yes.
Right? And what they're not stating is that the laws are different. Like,
Yes.
females wasn't really allowed to, pursue careers, and it was more traditionally staying at home. And
yep.
then now it's different. And it's like, just like my grandmother said, it's not the same chicken.
Yeah.
Relationship wise, it's not the same too. What now that you're on the other side, right? What would you advise women to, now that you've been married, you know exactly what it is. It's not imaginative.
No.
It's not what your mother said, auntie said, some girlfriend down the street
Yeah.
said. Right, you really did this.
Yeah.
Talk to the women out there that are either contemplating getting married, because it just seems like so many women, they don't have the way they have it as far as getting married, but they can have what they want, but it may not look the way they want it to look. But you've been there.
Yep.
Can you talk to them about what marriage like really is?
I'd say, I didn't get to date at a young age, right? I started dating when I got to college, so I didn't have many experience in relationships, so I couldn't, distinguish what was good, what was bad,
Right.
And I think dating and understanding what you want
Right.
in a partner and what your values are very important.
Right.
And, you know, you always, you know, every relationship goes through seasons, right? But it really, if I feel like now, if you can't add value to my life,
Right.
or as you would to theirs, there's no point of you being together.
Right.
And then, you know, you got to understand, like, you got to learn and see that person for truly who they are, because sometimes they could be wearing a mask.
Right.
So it's really truly getting to know somebody and then understanding and put them in different situations and
Right.
see how they would react.
That is important. What also is important, like you said about the values, did you have that conversation with the gentleman that ultimately became the father of your children and your husband? Was those conversations had prior to you guys becoming parents and ultimately getting married?
I felt like I did.
Okay.
That's
That's good though.
At some degree.
Yeah, that's good
But
though.
I was so young,
Okay.
right?
So you didn't understand the gravity. You didn't really
No.
have real perspective of
No,
what you was
exactly.
talking about. Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
I was young. You know, when you're young and you're inexperienced and you get that attention from somebody
Okay.
and they sell you a dream,
Yeah.
of course you're going to be, you know, persuaded.
Susceptible to that.
Yeah.
Right.
So that, just being young, you know, was really a disadvantage too. And not dating around.
So just for clarity, you was pregnant at 23. When did you guys ultimately decide to get married?
We actually didn't get married. I got engaged before I got pregnant.
Okay.
So we definitely were engaged, heading that direction. Just got pregnant at a young, you know, right before I graduated. We actually didn't get married till 2 years later.
Okay, 2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Why you say it like it was so long? You make it like it looked like it was 20 years. It was only 2 years, 24 months. Some people it don't ever happen. So it just, I guess it goes back to just the strict,
Yes.
the way you traditionally was raised and what
Yes.
was the expectations
Yep.
of your parents. So you talked earlier about the shame, and I would imagine guilt wasn't
Yes.
too far after that. How did you manage those emotions and get back to the Soki that's confident and that accepted that this is the reality of the decisions of my life?
So it took me a while to. I always wanted to make my parents, my
Proud.
family proud.
Right.
I was a pleaser. So then, when I realized I was old enough, from knowing what's right and wrong, and you know, love is, you don't see color with love, right?
Right.
So I was like, you know what, I came to the realization that this is my life.
Right.
This is not theirs.
Right.
You know, they did a great job raising me. They did a great job, you know, providing for me. But it's my time to step out and live my life. And I choose to be happy.
Good. Yeah.
So that was the point in my life where I decided, you know, I choose me and I want to be happy.
Can you talk just about I know I have, you know, followers that are in their 20s and their 30s.
Yeah.
And right now it's just this epidemic of, you know, women are demanding men to, you know, you gotta take them to 5-star restaurants,
Yeah.
right? And it's such a controversial question, it seems like, if a man asks a woman, do they cook or clean, right? And it goes back to the traditional sense of like when you talk about the grandmothers and aunties. What in your opinion matters most as far as relationship wise between a man and a woman, just in a Genesis state, but also if both have ambitions of ultimately getting married?
You know, even when I look at my kids, right? You know, as a parent, mother, I do a lot for them. You know, enable them a little bit. So, you know, it's a challenge because we do everything. You know, I'm quite sure their generation of parents or my group of generations. So we cater to our kids. We do everything for them. So we lose sight of teaching them the traditional way,
Right.
teaching them to learn how to cook, learn how to clean. I mean, they'll clean and pick up after themselves, but to truly like spend a Saturday morning and your parents are like, you got to clean the house, you got to clean, you know, do things around the house to help out.
Right.
Because sometimes my parents are at work on Saturday, so they have literally just a Sunday to relax. So I do everything for my kids, and I think that's the downfall for their generation, is because of how we've raised them. We enable them in some ways because we do everything.
Right. There was a few actually child psychologists that said, just like what you said, it's like it's more beneficial for the child to hear the parent say, not "I'm proud of you," but to show that the child is competent by allowing them to figure things out themselves and do things themselves.
Yes.
And I know every time you talk about your son, right? You always be, see, look at that smile. See, that's, you know what I'm saying? You always smile. And I know, you know, I'm a former professional athlete, and I know he's on that trajectory because you talked about his track prowess, and he's a 5-star track athlete, he's a football player. What makes you proud, or the most proud of your son?
I see a lot of myself in him, and I think that he's a very humble young man. He works hard. He's not a showboat person. You know, if he accomplished something, he's proud of himself.
Right.
And then he's a team player. Like, you know, he's always there for his teammates. And I've taught him to be humble. Right. Because I always try to teach him, like, you know, you can't always think that you're the best.
Right.
There's always going to be somebody better than you. So you need to understand that if you want to be the best, you got to go against the best.
Absolutely. That's great. That was great advice. I'm going to get you out in a couple more questions. One that is at the forefront is, you know, you work out a lot.
Yes.
It's all about discipline. Your son plays sports. It's about accountability. There's this growing narrative that's circulating the internet, of course, which, you know, it's a hit or miss, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Can you speak to the messaging that is currently out there with respects to women and not taking accountability? You think that's a myth, or is there some validity, you know, to that particular perspective?
Like, elaborate for me.
So, like, whatever situation a woman gets in, like they meet a guy and it doesn't work out, it's his fault. It's his fault.
Yeah.
It's his fault. And never at no point do they, you know, it's the whole cliche, the only common denominator in every situation is you. But I just wanted to just get your perspective on that, just, you know, either specifically or just in a general perspective.
You know, I think it takes, you know, I have a lot of examples that are events, friends that I know of that don't take ownership of their faults, right? And it has a lot to do with maturity and you know, understanding that, hey, if you do something wrong, you got to take full responsibility of what you've done wrong, you know. And wrong is wrong.
Right. And right is right.
Yeah, exactly. So, and at that point, those type of females, or even men, are turning into narcissists. You know, because if I'm wrong, I'm going to admit that I'm wrong, and I will try to redeem myself from whatever, anything that I've done to hurt anybody or someone. You know, and it just, people are not all there.
Absolutely, that's fact. That is 100%. That's as a kid said. That's a Snapple fact.
Yes.
That's a Sunday fact. That's a Monday fact. That's his facts. You know, because I think it all boils down to capacity, life experiences. Some people,
life experience is definitely a big factor.
Absolutely. Some people are fortunate to acquire the tools to help manage through whatever traumas and things that you encounter others, struggle through, quite frankly. Similar to Hills of Atlanta, where we speak. So, but finally, can you just talk about, in my opinion, the best, workout community in Atlanta? And, AB has done a phenomenal job just, expanding, growing, that community. And we met, like I said, on Saturdays.
Yeah.
They have the 1 Mile Crusher, you and Annie.
Yeah.
Can you just talk to, before we go off, how important it is for folks to find passions that they enjoy and passions that, benefit them as well. But just talk specifically about Hills for Atlanta and how the 1 Mile Crusher has added value to your life.
Yeah, so I look forward to Saturdays every week because, I would say, 99 point, 9% of the time I'm working out alone. I don't have a workout partner. So coming to Hills, on Saturdays doing the Mile Crusher and seeing, 300, 400 people sometimes.
And people don't believe that number. I tell people that they think I'm being facetious or embellishing, but it's really 300-400 people there every week. Yeah.
And it honestly pushes me to do, to crush it. Like I push myself because I see others, doing the workouts, running. And every time I go out there, I try to run harder, do more, push myself because I see everybody else, and that motivates me. Is seeing other people work out. I even, my sister don't even run, and I got her running because I told her, I was like, look, the first day we got there, the first time we ever did the Mile Crusher, I said, look, I'll try to go at your pace, but next time we come out here, you're on your own. Right. So she's even running. Good. Which speaks a lot, Yeah.
I think in closing, it definitely, it forces you because you see so many others performing at the best version of themselves. Yep. It just makes you take a look inside to try a little harder. Yes. That's the difference between ordinary and extraordinary, just a little bit more effort. Yes. And so that people always just respect the work. Yes. Right? Ultimately, it's about the work. You get the abs, the physique like you have, but that's bottom line. People respect the work. Yes. And respect is something that is never given but earned. But in closing, what is something, or what does Soki respect?
I respect my mom. Nice. My family, friends, like you said, respect is earned, and people that I allow in my life are important to me, and there's a reason why, because there's so many loud noises out there in the world, and I'm always a positive person. So that energy, people feel it. Absolutely. Even anywhere I go, if I go to, at work, or if I'm at a family event, or even at a sports event, or even at my son's game, like people are drawn to that energy. Right. And so respect is very important to me. And, like you said, you have to earn it to receive it.
Absolutely. Well, I hope this was well received. It was definitely pure joy to me. I'm glad that we finally had a chance to sit down.
Thank you.
And that is episode 16 of The Expensive Truth. Thank you for joining me. Look forward to episode 17 coming soon. And keep living your best life. Find wisdom. Only rock with those who rock with you. And that's the bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, no problem.